everybody. It's amazing to have you here today again. And if it's your first time, very, 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 very special welcome to you, right? And so today, let's talk about self-love. What is self-love? Throw it in the chat, somebody. Let me see. What do you think is self-love? What, from the understanding, do you feel that is? Come on, don't all shout at me at once. What's self-love? What do you think? Yeah, loving and accepting yourself. I like that. Thank you for sharing that. You're good and you're bad. I see that, Cara. Thank you. Amazing. Yeah, I like that. Anybody else that's different or something else popped in your head? Don't be afraid. This is a place where we're going to talk about things that affect all of us. And at some point, we're guilty in some way, or we know someone, or we have to relate to someone who does that. Self-appreciation, I like that. Great. And many other things are tied into these topics, right? So don't be afraid to throw things out there. I know that you know it. So, you know, you don't want to feel like, you know, what you're saying is right or wrong. This is a very non-judgmental, non-threatening space, and I want to encourage you to do that. Learning to love yourself spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Thank you. I see that, Marcus. Greetings to you, all of you here. Yes, considering yourself above the situations and people. I love that. Being comfortable with yourself despite judgments from others. Wow. I think you guys have basically shared all the information I have today. So yes, self-love is simply what it says. It's the ability to love one's self, to love you. And that's not very easy. It sounds so simple, but it's not very easy for many people. We like to invest in so many other things and people, but have difficulty when we turn those things inwardly to us. So yes, learning to love yourself in spite of everything happening. I saw that one in your life. Perfect. So self-love forms the foundation and the beginning of one's ability to extend love towards others. So what do you think I mean by that? If self-love forms the foundation and your ability to love others, what does that say about if there is any damage in that area? What does that say? If there's any lack in loving yourself, what's going to happen when we try to move it outwardly? Come on, you can't love fully. Yeah, you can't love others fully. You won't really be aware of how much love you need to give to others if you're even giving love to others, right? So I love that. I love that. It's a proven fact that people cannot give what they do not have within themselves, right? You can only give from what you have. And so what do you think then is our first encounter with love? And come on, there have been a few people just dropping things in the chat, but please answer this for me. Help me to think about this, see where you're at, where you're thinking, and what do you think leads us into where we're at now when we get to self-hate? Because if we don't have self-love, it's self-hate. There's no self-like, okay? You can like things on Facebook, like your Insta page and people's page. There's no self-like. It's either you love yourself or you really hate yourself, right? You don't like it, and it's called self-hate. And so answer this. What do you think is our first encounter with love? Where do you think that comes from? A child's first encounter with love. From parents. Yes, I see that. Oh, that's going up triple. That's going up a lot, all at the same time. Yes, we get that. I'm going to say from parents and or guardians. I'm going to say we get that from the environment, the place that we were first reared, that you were nurtured. That's the place that you first receive an awareness of love. But what is love then, right? We understand love to mean all kinds of, I don't know, a mix of so many things. What is love? What is love? Come on, throw something in the chat at me today. Just before I go into the others, I want us to get the base of what self-love is. So we have established that fact that it is the ability to love yourself. And we are saying that that first encounter with love comes from your nurturing environment, parents, guardians, the place that you first were raised in order to receive some kind of show of affection and love. Yes, it is caring for someone without expectation or anything in return. Yes, it is agape, it is philia, storge, eros. And these are the Greek words for agape is unconditional love, philia is friendship love, storge is kind of family love, and eros is that relational love. So these are critical love centered within our environment. And yes, I love that. Sharon says love is a verb. And it is a verb because it's an action word. You must do something. So yes, you're all right. Love is meant to be that mix of affection and emotions. It brings out that certain feelings in you. And it also is meant to make us feel secure. That's what all these emotions do. Make us feel secure in ourselves, make us feel secure in our environment, make us feel secure with those who are around us and within our context. So if you don't know what to feel, then you won't know how to feel when you get it. And you won't know if you've gotten it because you don't know what to feel. You don't know what security in these affections look like. You don't know what that should feel like. And therefore, when it comes your way, you really don't know if you know it, right? So what are some things then that can hinder you from feeling loved? What are some things that probably predisposed you to the lack of self-love? Where do you think all of this came from? If it's from our environment, what are some things that might have affected us? Right? So I'm going to throw some things out there, and if you have others, you can throw them out. I see that unfortunate experiences, amazing, trauma. These are all the things I have. Insecurities, generational curses. You're being put down. You're being criticized. You're being abused. You're being embarrassed. You have ideas and thoughts that were just shut down when you threw them out there. Or maybe you were raised in a pervasively invalidating environment. You were always compared to somebody else, whether it's a neighbor's child or a sibling or the person in the school who is deemed the brightest. All these things are situations that can teach you how to unlove, to hate yourself. And then if you're existing in an environment where you're not nurtured back to a grounding of who you are, then this causes a lot of trauma. And all the things we've listed here, if they go unresolved, that's when we have the issues. Because you see, for many of us, we are prone to all kinds of situations. We didn't choose the environments in which we were raised, many of us. We're born into these families, we're born to these parents, we're adopted by these people. Like you had no choice as a kid. So here is an uncontrollable environment in which you were raised and now bombarded by all these situations. Now it's one thing to come upon challenges and storms and tough circumstances in life. It's another thing to go through life without resolving those conflicts. And that's where the problem lies many times, why we have people moving from a child that was loved, adored, doted on, by parents or guardians or the environment, and yet end up as an adult hating themselves. Where did that come from? Some unfortunate, some negative circumstance could have pushed that person into that place. So whether they were criticized or abused or put down or just invalidated, every day you were ridiculed, you were bullied at school. And when you got home with that information, nobody believed you. Oh, you're just lying. You just like to snitch. You just like to carry news. And then that is invalidating. And therefore, if your hurt and your pains were invalidated by the people that should have taught you security and comfort in love, what's going to happen? You're left with nothing, because then you don't know who to trust. Because the people you've trusted or should trust are the people who don't believe your story. Sometimes the very abuse or the criticisms came from those very same places and people. And so what that has done is just hardened the emotion. Remember, we said love is a mix of emotion and affection. It hardened the affection and the emotions, and therefore you begin to see yourself differently. And the mirror that you now see is this person who is not lovable, does not deserve to be loved, cannot be reached. You have so many defenses and walls built up now because when you tore the walls down and trusted, that was taken advantage of. And so you build a wall. It's called the defense mechanisms that we use. We build walls to protect ourselves. And sometimes it's the only survival instinct that we know. It's the only way you could survive. So I also want to just use this moment to throw this out there to say, if maybe you're at that place where you've built these walls in your life, you don't even know how to appreciate or love yourself or anyone else for that matter. You've become so hardcore because nobody ever believed the truth of your story or believed that you were lovable, or even if they didn't believe, but maybe just validate you by cuddling you, hugging you, giving you a reassuring word. It could have changed a lifetime of experience. But here you are. Here we are, all grown up now, with those traumas, with those unresolved conflicts. And they have hardened within us so much that we can't even compliment ourselves. And so I want to encourage you today to not say it's okay to live with that, but just to remember that situations and circumstances may have put you where you are at today, but it doesn't mean that you need to stay there. You can choose, right? You can choose. And that's what we're going to talk about. So it brought you there uncontrollably. This was not you. It was forced upon you. It was thrown to you. You were treated that way by people or adults or those who should have known better. And sometimes, you know what? Those are people who didn't even know better. That's how they were raised. That's what was given to them. And we started the premise of self-love by saying you cannot give what you do not have. You can only give out of your reservoir of what's in you. And if self-hate, abuse, criticism, all these kinds of condescending means were what people had, then that's all they're going to give. That's all they're going to give. So why does it continue now, though? So you know where it started. Why is it still going on? Last week, we talked a little bit about the nurture-nature environment and context of what you were born with, the genes, and how you were raised, the nurture, the environment. Now, when you have that premise of who you are, so you're a 5-year-old kid who was always yelled at, shouted at, never commended, never complimented, never hugged. You know that there are children raised in homes that have never experienced a cuddle and a hug. So you've never received a hug. You've never been told how beautiful you are, or how kind you are, or how giving you are, or how precious you are, or how special you are, or maybe talented. If you've never received that, and you are raised, or maybe it was said on the one hand, but you're not shown that, because it's one thing for people to say, but you've never been shown that. So you have no experience as to what true love and affection could look like or should look like. Imagine you growing up now. You're made that way for this. You're very sensitive, you're touchy, you're thin-skinned, you withdraw as soon as someone says a no to you or makes, maybe even if it's a constructive criticism, but it's not one that you are looking because it seem or feel a little negative. You pull away, you shut down, and you can't even move forward because it paralyzes and cripples you. Now, when you have that kind of personality, plus all the other things that could be going on in your life right now, poor relationships, struggle with children, partner relationships, marital issues, like all these kinds of problems, unemployment, maybe relocation, all these things. Yeah, like, when you have these,
it should post it to YouTube after.
Plus your current vulnerabilities, it creates a whole can of worms for new things. Think about it. Picture if you were, okay, we're in COVID. So maybe as a child, you were continuously shamed for your body, physical shaming, body image shaming. Oh, you're too fat. Why are you so maga? Oh, for those who are not from the Caribbean, why are you so skinny? You're too meager. Oh, you're too lanky. You're so short. Like all these genetic things for which we have no control, right? Maybe it's just your makeup. It's just, why are you so black? Oh, why are you so pale? All these things. Now, these are situations that you were predisposed to genetically. Why your eyes are so hazel, why are they so brown, why are they so big? These are things that we cannot change. Oh, worse, let's go to the nose. Your nose is too big, it's too small, all these things that you inherit genetically and could do nothing about that. So picture if you had that body image already being shamed since you were a kid growing up. Now we're in COVID, COVID hits. You were already shamed for being too fat, always overweight, too greedy. And yes, because of COVID, the lack of exercise and all these things, maybe stress, maybe all the anxiety, maybe all the pressure during these 4 months, you've added 10 more pounds on your pounds, or 5, or maybe it's even 2. But picture that situation currently with your history of being told that you were obese or fat or, sluggish or whatever term was used to deprave you in a way. That leads to all kinds of physical and mental and emotional distress, because this is a replay of your childhood all over again, invalidating. You feel frustrated with yourself. You want to give up on yourself because I'm always going to be fat. I will never be different. I was always told that. So body shaming becomes, it doesn't matter how someone else says to you, you look absolutely beautiful. Oh, you're stunning. Really? No, I don't think so. I've never looked beautiful, because that was fed to you in the formative years of your life. So it's happening now because it has a foundation to build on. What you're feeling right now in your life is building on a foundation that already existed in you. So that's coupled together, right? The nurture, your current vulnerabilities, and it could lead you to all kinds of physical issues and feelings and trauma and distress about yourself. And then we have maybe the medical. Maybe you're suffering again from some illness and you believe this is punishment from God because you were told before, maybe when you did something wrong as a kid, that because you are wicked, because you're bad, because you're rude, this is what's going to happen. And so anything that's not working right in your life is now associated with punishment. It is called, in my field, a pattern of behavior. And patterns are important to watch. Why is this happening? Why do you feel that now? Because at some point before, there was that pattern in your life. And patterns attract us to people. Patterns draw us to people. The same people who tend to invalidate and ridicule and so on, if those trauma issues are not dealt with, in your adult life, you find that you feel drawn to the same kind of people. Same kind. Because it's like a trauma bonding. It is like, this is what I've always known, so this is my most comfortable place to be. And so you stay in it because that's all you've ever known. And so we want to talk, we're still talking about self-love. Now, when you begin to have this kind of physical impact and thoughts medically, if there's a medical condition and you begin to feel it's punishment because I was this, I am wicked, I'm rude, I am this, it's just, it connects you into a whole world of mental issues. You begin to ruminate. And it's not just the cow that ruminate. You begin to ruminate and you overthink the negative things. You can't sleep at night. It is playing like a record in your head. Your thoughts are racing. And guess what? They're always, almost always, negative thoughts. So maybe there's a minute tinge, a little bit of a positive thought that comes to mind. And your system is so accustomed to dysfunctionalities that you can't even receive that little tinge of positivity. You push it aside and you just continue to ruminate, and you get stuck with what feels like no escape in a whirlpool of replaying over and over the negative things that you've always been told. And so you begin to wonder, how am I thinking all these things? One negative thing crossed your mind, and then it just spins you into a world of every negative you've ever been told, because they're unresolved issues. So once your mental is overtaken by this replay of negativity, automatically, it's like a matriculation. It leads your emotions into negative emotions. So you start to feel down, you're sad, you get depressed, you're angry, you hate, you're bitter. Because negative thinking yields negative feeling. We talked about that last week. It is your thought that drives your emotion. So it's what you think about it. If someone says to you, oh, I hate you, you're so ugly. If you think about it in that way, I am ugly, I am hated, then it drives negative emotions. If you reframe it like we talked about it last week and said, you know what? It is unfortunate that you cannot see my worth because you have nothing in you. You're so empty that you can only see ugly and negativity and meanness. Your mind automatically reframes that emotion for you, and you begin to feel sorry for this person rather than hating yourself. So reframe. Remember, your thinking shapes your emotion, right? So it doesn't mean because someone says something to you that it is true. It is how you perceive it, how you receive it, and how you choose to practice it. So instead, you can look at the crowd like Jesus and have compassion on them and say, you're so empty inside that you cannot even give love to anyone else. I mean, you don't have to say it to them personally. You can understand that. You are so empty inside that you can't give love to anyone else. You lack inside that you cannot even celebrate someone else. So don't internalize everything people say to you because they say it. Who are they? What makes them a source or law? Right? So do not imbibe it. It's not everybody who gives you a cup of water, you're going to drink it. You decipher who you want to take something from, right? The same way with what people say to you. So when people say negative things to you, even if they're in your household, even if they're spouses, even if they're relatives and friends, even if they're associates, co-workers, employers, employees, it doesn't matter who they are and what category or role they may play in your life. If you don't view it in the way they say it, then it has no impact on you, or little or no impact on you. So remember, look outside of yourself sometimes and see that people give what they have, right? People give what they have. And so if they're empty inside, they can only give you emptiness. They can't give you love and appreciation because they don't love themselves and they don't appreciate themselves. And one of the places I see that, and I was just about getting to that, thank you, Lauren, social media. Social media is shaping so many of our minds. What you see out there, what people say about you, or maybe they put something on their page and you feel it is for you. What do you think it is for you? Could be their story, but hypothetically they throw it out in the third person, so it seems like it's for somebody else. But if you don't take it on, then it has no effect on you, right? And so it's important that we remember your mind will lead you, if the thoughts are negative, it will lead you into negative feelings and emotions. And there are also the relational issues that that has such a great impact on people. Relationships that are abusive or toxic. Remember, we're talking about why now? Why are you continuing to hate yourself right now in your life as an adult? As a kid, you were raised like that, but why 20, 30 years later, 40 years later, you still hate yourself, right? How long will you blame it on when you were 5 or 6? I mean, you've lived 6 decades since then, 5, 4, 3, even 2, right? So we want to remember that sometimes we are continuing in the relational traumas, the abusive, toxic relationships, whether they're with partners, friends, associates. Sometimes it's the space that we are in, the environmental toxicity within that place. You're working or living or existing in some place that will continue to create that vulnerability. So it triggers something from the past. And so you continue to hate yourself, right? And again, the spiritual, maybe your feeling of shame, feeling of shame for whatever, feeling of shame that you are too fat or too skinny, or why were you the ugly one or the dunce one, or all these mean invalidating things that you were told in your life, or the liar because nobody believed your story even when it was true. And you continue to feel like this is part of God's punishment to you in your life. And so what that does is that it withdraws you totally from the relationship that you could have with God, because you feel so much shame and guilt or hate or bitterness towards God for allowing this to happen to you. So that's why it's continuing now. Things continue now because they're built on a foundation. We have vulnerabilities right now, and they are now put on a foundation that did not already start right. And so that's the precipitating factor, some of them that we're dealing with. How about the things that perpetuate it? Like, why does it continue? Why is it continuing? So, okay, I get that it is happening now because I'm in COVID. I can't go out to exercise, or I can't get the job, or I'm not able to go out and socialize with friends. I can't meet up. Everything is online because we're still closed. And especially if you're in Canada, for sure. I know, many things are going on other places, but there's still so many restrictions here. But why does it continue now? Maybe you have that foundation, but right now, who knows? You have spun yourself into such a negative cycle that maybe right now you're experiencing some mental illness. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you've gone through anxiety. Maybe you're in deep sadness for months. And it's just going on. Maybe your whole mood, you've developed a mood disorder because everything has shifted and you were already predisposed based on genes and how you were raised. And then maybe you find yourself, it's continuing now as well because you continue to engage in situations that conflict with your beliefs and your morals. I want to say that to you again, that if you continue to exist in relationships anywhere, sometimes it's a job. If you continue to do a job that you feel does not align itself with your morals, your beliefs, who you are, you're always going to feel untrue to yourself. It makes you miserable. If you continue to exist in circles of people and connections that continue to make you feel miserable because they are out of sync with your true self, you have to be true to your true self, because when you're not, then you continue to live a lie. And when you live a lie, it is already literally augmenting all the negative and pervasively invalidating things that you have lived with in your life. And so what this does is that it continues to spiral you into self-hate. That's why it continues. You don't align yourself with people that are really connected to who you are, your true self. I don't know, maybe because you probably need to look good with a kind of crowd, or maybe, as Lauren said earlier, social media. Maybe you need to be putting a story out there and you need to look the part. But when you get home deep in yourself, you know that this is not really who I am. It makes you hate yourself. It makes you want to puke. It makes you, and these situations are pushing you into doing things or being a part of things that are not naturally you. You can't even move forward in your career, in your drive for life, in your zest for life, because you are not authentically you. That's one of the reasons as well that self-hate will continue. And if you join late, I'm just saying, if you don't have self-love, what you really have is self-hate. And when we self-hate, we self-sabotage, and we're going to get to that a little bit. Maybe right now you're also experiencing feelings of shame and guilt because of aligning yourself with these people or doing things that you know don't sit right with you, but you don't know how to get out of it. Maybe accepting some things on the job or in the relationships, or in whatever, I don't know, that make you feel like it brings so much shame to who you are. It will cause you to continue to hate yourself. Maybe you're feeling thoughts of, I don't know, failure or being weak. You feel like you're stuck at a place and you tell yourself, I can't even get out of this. I'm such a loser that I can't even bring myself to walk away from this job, to walk away from this partner, to walk away from this best friend, or to walk away from this person who said they had my back. But you know that it is not. Maybe you've discerned them to have the spirit of narcissism. Maybe they have always just said it in word, but have always treated you so badly. Always treated you so, oh, you're my bestie, you're my best friend, yet they treat you so mean. You have to know, and it sits with you and you know it. What's keeping you there? Why are you still there? Why are you afraid to walk away? Your inability to love yourself. That's why you're still there, right? Thoughts of being stuck with no help or escape. The inability to do something about your situation. Those are reasons you stay there, right? And we're going to look at a little bit of what I talked about with the why you're really in that mode, because it means that you're giving more to others than you give to yourself. And we're going to get a little bit more into the self-care with that. But I want to look at 3 scriptures. I just want to point them out today, that self-love is a part of scripture. God tells us that, the Bible tells us that God is love. It's a noun. So while love is a verb, that it's an action you need to do, love is also a noun. God is love. And if we're made from God, if we come from God, we're made in his image and in his likeness. It means that love naturally emanates from us. It is innate. And therefore, it is the environment that spoils that for us. It is the nurture that kills that, something that we were already born with naturally. It's killing us, and maybe even started developing genetically from within the womb. Once you're conceived, self-hate could be transmitted as well, because it's an emotion and it transmits to that baby in the womb, and that sense of rejection and lack of attachment and all of these things. So Mark chapter 12 verse 31 says, and the second commandment is like this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. The first one was to love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, was your mind. And the second, to love your neighbor as yourself. Now, if you do not have self-love, if you don't love yourself, we set that as a precedence when we started this presentation tonight. If you don't have something, you can't give it. So when the word of God says that we should love our neighbor, love others, love the external as we love ourselves, what happens then when you have no love for yourself? So people who continue to berate you, to put you down, to criticize you, to make you feel like nothing, they are condescending. Where do you think that's coming from? Remember, I said, stop taking that on. They are giving to you only what they have. And what they have is nil, nothing, nada, zinc, nothing. They are empty. You can't expect an empty tank to go anywhere. You can't use that vehicle to go anywhere. It's empty. So empty people give emptiness. Why are you taking it on? Why are you taking on the emptiness? It's their emptiness. Don't carry anybody's baggage. You already have enough of your own. The scripture says, don't worry about tomorrow, what you will eat or drink or put on, because today has enough trouble of its own. Human beings are like that. We have enough problems of our own. Do not, and I say to you, capitalized, do not take on someone else's emptiness. Love your neighbor as yourself. People who have no love for themselves are incapable of loving you. And so Proverbs 4:23 says, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. The issues of life, not just one thing. From your heart comes every single issue of your life. So whatever you feel in your heart comes out of you, comes out of you. If it's hate then that you feel, then it's hate that you're going to give. If it's bitterness that you feel, it's bitterness you're going to give. If it's love that you feel, it is love that you will give. 1 John 4:16 says God is love. I did say that it's a noun. Love is also a noun. God is love. And he that dwells in love dwells in God. When you love yourself, you can love others. And when you love yourself and others, you dwell in God, because God is love. What comes from you is what's emanating from the very nature of God in you. You can't love God that you cannot see and hate your brother and yourself that you can see. So we go to church, we have a hype, oh, we love it, and we love God, and yet we hate ourselves. How is that possible? You see yourself, you see others, we can't see God. It's all a matter of faith. And yet all we talk about is our love for God. Impossible if you hate yourself. Impossible. We have an idea of it, but we haven't really gotten the true essence of it. So those are 3 scriptures. There's so many more, but I just wanted to remind you that the Bible is about that. God is love, and therefore God expects us that the 7th greatest commandment is, and it's called the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love others as you would want them to love you, but you have to have love in you before you can do that to others, right? So how do we get past this self-hate? Last week, again, we talked about shifting your thinking. It is important to keep that before you. Your thoughts drive your emotions. They drive your feeling. Nobody who thinks about going on a vacation and is excited, or going for a new job, oh my God, I just can't wait. Nobody who thinks that feel, oh, I'm going for a new job, I can't wait. That's paradoxical. There's an excitement that comes in your emotion when your thoughts are excited. When you think exciting things, when you think positive, your emotions are positive. And I tell you the truth, it is a fight every day. It is a battle every day. But you have to cast down, tear down every thought that is not of God in you. And God is love. Every thought that is not of God, you have to tear that down every single day, many times a day, and remind yourself that God is love. He loves me. He died for me. And therefore, there is enough in me for God to love. If God can love me, that he died for me, seriously, then who else matters? I'm just going to let you think about that. You have to shift your thinking. Stop thinking about all the things that are not working for you. So we get into a negative spiral by looking at all the things that are not working. My relationship's going bad. I'm having a good one with my children. Oh, my partner treats me badly. I don't have a job. Nobody likes me. And we keep going into the spiral of every single thing is going badly. Well, maybe that's true with the things you've listed. But how about stopping for a moment to list the things that are going right for you? I have a mom who loves me unconditionally. She calls me every day to check on me. My best friend, every day, or every week will send me a text, will check on me. Those are going right. How about the amazing relationship that you have with that one child? How about that, particular good break that you just got in life? If you process the things that are going right, then the negative things will fade in comparison to the positive that you will see before you. So think less, or stop thinking about all the things that are not working for you, and think about the ones that are working. Maybe it's just having a meal every day, the opportunity to find food every day. Maybe that's what's working for you. You know what else is working for you? You are still alive. You are here. And as long as there is breath in your body, you have another moment to do something differently, to change your current situation. So that's going right for you. You have life. How about you begin to celebrate all the things that are working, right? Celebrate them. Cheers to them. Thank you, Lord, I have life. Thank you, God, for one good best friend. Thank you that there's this one person I can call. Thank you that there's still that one child that gets you or understands. Thank you that all is not lost. Maybe thank you I still have my dog or my cat or that pet that won't ever give up on you. Celebrate the things that are working well for you. Remember, we are shifting or thinking. Stop thinking about all the people who don't like you. They don't matter. You know what? Just be grateful for the people who are excited about you. You know, those people, that one, that two, those three best friends, those three buddies, or those three girlfriends who, when you call them, even if you're in the wrong, they are so supportive of you that they build you up and make you feel good. And then they say, anyway, I think you need to work on this piece. And you get it. Celebrate that. Celebrate that. Be excited about that. Do not be concerned. And I'm going to say this and hammer this to you. Do not be concerned about the people who can't value you. It is not your fault that they can't appreciate your worth. It's not your fault. It's not your fault that they're jealous of you. It's not your fault that you turned out to be this beautiful soul. Maybe God just blessed you specially to be this sweet, kind-hearted person. It's not your fault that you have all these amazing qualities and skills and talent. It's because you have God's love in you, self-love. You're able to love yourself and you can give it to others. So don't be concerned. Don't overthink the people who can't value you. They don't know how to value you because they have no value on themselves. If you don't know how to price pearl, how are you going to sell it? If you don't know the value of diamond and platinum or gold, how are you going to know what you have in your chest? Okay, don't overthink it. Don't overthink and become concerned with the people in your life who are going nowhere, or in your circle who can't celebrate you because you are going somewhere. It's okay. They cannot give what they do not have. And it doesn't matter what position they hold in your life, a parent, a child, a spouse, a friend, a colleague, a co-worker. It doesn't matter what role they hold in your life. If they can't celebrate who you are and where you're going, they just do not have that capacity. And it's okay. It is okay. It's not your fault that they cannot appreciate and value your worth. Don't give anyone the satisfaction of giving them so much that you hate yourself. Some of us find ourselves in that position. You give and give and give and give and give and give and give to people so much that you begin to hate yourself because you want to stop and you don't know how to stop yourself because you align your identity with the people that you're giving to. right? So we want to shift our thinking. Don't allow anybody to cause you to think you are giving them so much or loving them so much that you hate yourself in doing it. Do not lose yourself at the expense of anyone. No one at all, right? Because the image of God is in you. So again, how do we shift our thinking a little bit more? Affirm yourself. Some people are, sometimes I'd have a client and I say, let's talk about some affirmative statements to affirm yourself. And I want you to say this after me. And they struggle. They struggle to say it. They struggle to believe that they could be anything positive. Affirm yourself. Simple things. You could get up each morning, just saying, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I know I have a tough situation ahead of me, but I can do this. God and I, together, we are a majority. I can do this. Look at yourself in the mirror and speak lovely things to yourself. Nobody else has ever done that for you. Maybe you've never had that experience. Well, guess what? You can do it for yourself. Speak positive things over your life, over yourself. You can do this. Look at yourself in the mirror. Karen, girl, oh my God, I love that dress on you. Wow, girl, you are poppy. Come on, you have to be your greatest fan. Celebrate yourself. Right? Speak truth to yourself. Tell yourself, I am beautiful. I am gorgeous. I am gifted. I am talented. I have a place, an important role in this life. I'm a child of the universe. I have a right to be here, just like everybody else's, achievement or whatever it is that they have, just like everybody else. I have a right to be here. Like the trees, the stars, the sun, I have a right to be here. The birds celebrate their right and they chirp around and they do their thing. You have a right to be here. Celebrate yourself. Be your greatest cheerleader. Be your biggest fan. Sometimes we're so blessed with biggest fans who seem to celebrate us more than we celebrate ourselves. But that's okay. Those are the people you need, the cheerleaders. But strive to become your own cheerleader. Boost yourself. The Bible tells us that David encouraged himself in the Lord. You have to encourage yourself. That's self-affirmation. But you know what? Part of the problem with self-affirmations with many of us is because we were raised in environments that when you try to tell yourself you're beautiful or bright or smart, you are shut down. You are shut down to say you're vain. Oh, you're too cocky. You're too vain. You're full of yourself. Listen, there's a thin line between honesty and modesty. So you can go on being modest, or you can get up out of the slumber, out of the sadness, out of the anxiety, out of the depression you're sitting in, and say, you know what? I can love myself. The story of Marsha Lanahan, who is often, I shared some of her DBT skills last week and some weeks before, is this psychologist who struggled, and you can Google her and research her if you want. She struggled from 17, 18, 19. She was hospitalized, 2.5 years diagnosed with all kinds of things, schizophrenia, BPD, all kinds of borderline personality disorder, all kinds of things. Doctors gave up on her. Family couldn't understand why she was always wanting to kill herself, tying off, hitting herself, self-harm, self-injury, all these things. It was like a hopeless case until that day, an epiphany when she walked into that. I think, if I recall clearly, it was like the chapel at the hospital, the people gave up on her. And she realized, I do these things to myself because I hate myself. And God loves me. And if he loves me, I can love myself. And out of that, A 21-year-old that the world gave up on and thought, her families and doctors thought she would have killed herself because there was nothing worth living for. And she had tried everything. She'd done everything to kill and destroy herself. Left, went to college, completed her training, completed PhD in psychology, and developed the dialectical behavior therapy that is today renowned with data and research to show that it is the greatest therapy for people who are at the highest risk of hurting themselves or feel so hopeless in life that they want to kill themselves, because she came from that existence. Until that day when she stood before herself and God and was able to affirm herself. She said, I am beautiful. If I'm made in the image of God, I am lovable. I am lovable. And if I can love myself as God loves me, that he died for me, then it could change my entire life. And it changed her life and has been changing so many, thousands of people's lives because of a model that she developed out of her own experience. So I'm saying to you, don't be afraid to affirm yourself. It is okay. You're not being boastful or cocky or vain. You need to get up out of where people have made you to sit and feel for so long that you're nothing and nobody, and tell yourself, I have an important role in this life. I have a right to be here. And you know what? Give yourself permission. I messed up, and that's okay. You know what? I lived my first 30 years as nothing and feel like trash, but it's okay. Today is a brand new day. I will start the day afresh. Give yourself permission to rise up from where you've been. Invest in yourself and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. God doesn't hold it against you. Others may hold it against you. But if God forgives you and you forgive yourself, there's nothing that can stop you. You're unstoppable. And that love that you will have for you will be amazing. It will chart a course for you that is unstoppable. So I want to remind you today, invest in self-care, because part of the self-hate we have is that you don't even rest, you don't sleep, you don't take care of yourself. You think it's a sin or it's so wrong to have some me time. Take some me time. Put up your feet a little bit. Take a vacation. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be a picnic on the lawn. Enjoy you. Enjoy your company. I've told you that before and I'll say it again. You can put the phone away. Put it aside. It is such a valuable device and it can be such a deadly poison. Put the electronic away. Enjoy you. Enjoy yourself, your alone time with you, your own thoughts. Tell yourself beautiful things that you've never heard in your life. Maybe you've never heard, or maybe you never had the chance to be told them, right? And I want to say to you, surround yourself with people who celebrate you. If you're in a circle that can't celebrate you, you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. You must go where you are celebrated and appreciated. And so surround yourself with those people. And guess what? Celebrate your achievements. Doesn't matter how small they are. Small wins, celebrate them. Celebrate them. Maybe this is something you've never thought of doing for yourself, but maybe you tried that today and you said, you know what? I listened for an hour to Karen just talking about self-love and things that could have caused that. I did something for myself. Celebrate that. Cheers. Drink some wine. I don't know, have a yogurt, some ice cream, something as a celebration to you. Maybe a little post-it on your mirror today to say, today I celebrated myself. But celebrate yourself. Use something, a little treat. I'm not saying go buy chocolate all the time, but maybe you just deprived yourself for so long that it's okay to have a little bar of chocolate to say, you know what, girl, you're doing this for you. You know what, buddy, you're doing this for you. So celebrate you, okay? Because if you don't love you, then you can't expect anybody else to love you. And without love, There's absolutely nothing in you that you have to give to others. All right? So, questions, comments,